So yeah, so here we are, and maybe we can look at the map. Jenny, can you?
Yes, I can share that.
Okay. So yeah, can everybody see that?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So this is kind of our little session flow map, and we are just moving. We were just in arriving, a little spiral on the left side, and now we're in mapping the flow, and this is the map of the flow. Then the next steps, and it's kind of giving reference and inspired by Theory U, if you know about it.
Right.
So there you see the little U. So we're going to kind of, the next step would be a video that we have chosen as a sort of co-sensing activity. That will be like 2 minutes that we'll watch together. And then just after the video, as a sort of kind of resonance to what kind of the video evoked in us. So we might take a few seconds of just sensing into what the kind of the resonance from the video, and then we kind of move into sort of improvised poetry, and it's just the words, you know. So what kind of the reactions that come from it will be like a short 3 minutes about that we will kind of move into this space of whatever resonance that comes from the video, words that we heard or new words that emerge from the experiencing that video, will have this improvised poetry. And then we'll have a few more minutes like of generative dialogue again, so about the video and the poetry, kind of what the themes that emerge. And as we are doing that, Jenny, that probably already started, will be harvesting the conversation and kind of the energies and from our shared experience. So as we are kind of move after the generative dialogue, giving some time to Jenny to harvest what is there in a visual, we will then kind of watch the visual, and Jenny will share with us the visual, and we will do again a sort of resonance. So we will spend several few minutes, 1 or 2 couple of minutes, just watching and naming what we see, what we feel from the image. And then again, resonance, some time to settle into from the individual seeing of what we see, feel from the image, and to a social sculpture, which will be a sort of this sculpture, embodied gesture that comes this time from the resonance of the visual harvest and the individual seeing. And then going towards the last step, we're going to use the chat mostly. Again, each one on his own. If you have a piece of paper, it's even great. We'll then take a moment to write down some of like the actions or the commitment to actions that comes from our shared experience. So it could be either 3 small things that we would like to take action in the next days or weeks, or it could be even a very big, ambitious project we want to, and that we feel inspired to, and we share that in the chat. So we write for ourselves, and then we share it in the chat, and then we kind of look at that, and that's our
I missed that last minute of what you said. The sound went out, Yuri.
Oh, okay. What was the last word you heard?
It was about 30 seconds. The last 30 seconds or almost minute of what you said. It was.
So okay. Then the building together through action is basically us sharing our commitment, our actions, what we take from as an action point for ourselves, and then look at that together. But I'm sharing this flow, although I will, I would just bring that flow again, so you don't need to remember everything. But it's just to share kind of the plan that we had. we have for the session. The whole thing from the video till the action is around 40 minutes, so 45 minutes. So if you have any specific questions, but again, you don't need to remember everything, I'll bring it back. Then now it's a good time. Yeah. So hopefully the gods of technology would be merciful. I always say that the technology is the enemy of theater, but we're trying to create a bridge here. So I hope technology would cooperate with us. What we am I going to share the video, Jenny?
Well, that's what I was thinking, but I'm just thinking for technology wise, it might be better if I do.
Sure.
So let me go ahead and let me just find that and I'll be ready in just a moment.
Okay, I have the link. I can probably send it in the chat.
Perfect. If you put it in the chat. Okay.
I did.
Got you.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
So we take a little moment before maybe the video just to feel our feet on the ground and kind of sensed into the present moment and giving our attention to how we are, and then we just going to kind of take in the video and what is it telling us, what is it moving in us.
Okay. Can everybody see the screen all right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Estou fazendo aqui o que quer dizer uma falsidade com a gente, né? Com a natureza também. É uma relação de vidas, né? Não destruição, né? Essas aves, elas tinham vida. Essas aves está tudo viva, cada um no seu lugar.
Eu penso na futura geração dos nossos filhos, dos nossos netos, não pode respirar o mesmo ar que a gente está respirando hoje. Se não tiver alguma preservada, alguma pessoa que está morando lá dentro, talvez não vai existir mais isso aqui.
Todos esses anos a gente resistiu aqui. Quando a estrada não tinha quase acesso, quando chegou a energia, quando chegou as invasões. A cada dia que passa aqui nós vemos a destruição avançar, desmatamento, as invasões, extração de madeira. Quer dizer, uma falsidade com a gente, né? Com a natureza também. É uma relação de vidas, né? Desejamos mais aqui sugar os esforços, que eu já falei, se for preciso, ele derramar até a minha última gota de sangue. Derrubadas, a gente fica entristecido, porque a floresta morre a cada momento. E o mundo precisa da floresta. Nós precisamos da floresta. Nossos filhos precisam da floresta.
So we're taking a second just to feel the resonance, and then I'll start a bell, and we will have like 3 minutes of this improvised resonance. So whatever words that come to us, and we're just going to go. There is no order, just as we feel. And then we have another 4 minutes plus 4 minutes of generative dialogue afterwards. Brothers, why are we doing this?
Our blood and the rivers are boiling.
It's our mother. It's our mother.
The trees have lives.
I'm ready to fight.
Colonization is not just about claiming the land.
Let's work together. For the future.
I know I am complicit.
We are all breathing this air. We've polluted.
Whose suffering is normalized?
Before electricity, it was better. But now, when there is, this message can arrive to you. To us.
What the fuck, people?
Let's go back to the forest.
We are each other.
We are the forest.
A million trees. A billion trees.
All sisters and brothers.
100 billion trees. So that was the ring for our end of our improvisation. But we can just now kind of maybe take in the resonance for a second and then share whatever came up to us as we were seeing the video, as we were kind of improvising. So it's not the first time I see this video, and Jenny actually chose among different videos that I shared with her. And I think what touches me a lot is actually the voice, the tone of voice that I hear. You know, I don't speak Portuguese, but the way some of those indigenous men speak, the tone of voice is somehow both strong and wild and tender in a way that, you know, kind of really inspires me, but at the same time there's some kind of sadness.
Right. Yeah, there's a deep, deep connection that they have to the land and the whole ecosystem. And there's so much that I want to know about those cultures, but it has become increasingly difficult to really find the information. And it just calls into question, or at least brings to mind the ways in which indigenous wisdom has been suppressed in so many ways. I mean, we're talking structurally, societally, culturally. I was listening to Melanie Goodchild when she did her interview with Otto Scharmer, and you were probably there for that, right? So a lot of the insights that Melanie brought up ring true in this video as well, and it just brings to my attention this idea that indigenous wisdom is really a forgotten resource that we could learn a lot from, but how? That's the question. And how can we hold space for these communities and cultures that have been buried willfully by those in power? So those are some things that come to my mind. And, I'm not even part of that community. And I feel a deep, deep sense of indignation when I watch that kind of a video. Because there's such a profound injustice that you have to stop to try to wrap your head around before even proceeding with how to learn. Maybe it's time for a collective healing. And I think that's also something that Melanie was talking about. She was saying that, especially as a Native person or as an Indigenous person, it could be, Indigenous, Amazonian, Canadian, American, within different regions of North America and South America. And I will also say, Australia and those regions. She was saying that there is a process of individual healing that you must undergo if you're to even learn about this. And she was talking about her own personal challenges in even trying to understand her history and lineage, and that it brought up a lot for her as being a descendant and a member of that heritage. So those are some things that came to mind.
I just want to speak that what's present for me is the speaking in of the time for collective healing that feels very much like what we're being called into. And I deeply resonate with what you said in terms of like the work that individuals need to do,
Right.
and also that it's such a collective responsibility, and also it's a collective reality, like a energy. It's not just, there is no individual there. The illusion of separation tells us that it's an individual thing. So it's like both of these things, and what I feel we need to tend to now more than ever is the collective space and the practices in those collective spaces
Right.
that we know such little about, I think, in mainstream culture.
Right. And if I could just briefly interject there, Jenny, what comes up for me when you say that about the collective nature of social cohesion is still a practical need to listen to the needs of those people who have been suppressed. So even though we live in, on some degree, a collective social scale, there is a very present need to put aside our own preconceived notions and to not take the role of an interventionist and to listen to what communities are experiencing, and being able to hold space for that first.
I shared the link for the conversation that Dan mentioned with Melanie
Right.
Child, and between them and Otto Scharmer. I guess I was muted, so you couldn't hear. There was a ring of the middle of our generative conversation time, but we still have some time. So yeah, if you want to share something more.
I am remembering a quote by Wendell Berry from one of the characters in his book. I don't remember which book. It's a series of books all around characters and people in a community over years, over many years. This cohesive community of so many kinds of people together, known so well. And one of the members says to the other, you know, something like this is the paraphrase. It's not about like a club, who's in and who's out. It's about who knows it and who don't. We're all members, and we've forgotten or never known this in our disconnected culture. So it's time again for the circle that listens to everyone in the house, in the planet. Every like a in my household, my family, you know, I make sure all my children are fed. That's as a parent and just as a person, I could not keep eating all this food if someone's going hungry. How are we doing this? We're doing it because others, people who have been on the other side of the planet, have not been in our consciousness. They've been removed from our consciousness, even though we've had all these ways of communication. And fortunately, unfortunately, now these fires are happening and spreading. You know, so when they happen in California, where there's wealth, or Australia where there's wealth, and people say, "Oh, now it's happening here." You know, now in the cultures that have been causing some of this, now it wakes us up. Maybe that's what it takes to remember a membership.
So that was the official end, but I want to give Ben also time to speak and Jenny time to finish up the drawing. Actually, we kind of agreed with Jenny that we're going to give her also a little bit. When she's ready, she let us know, basically. So we'll give her a few minutes, you know. Yeah, Ben, if you want to add something. Or...
I've heard a lot of people talking about indigenous wisdom and indigenous leadership for a while. It's kind of it's one of these great stories of transition in these times that you know, as soon as I heard it, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Yes, we've kind of forgotten who we are, and here are people who know in a way that we need to be reminded of. And then I hear stories like the gentleman in Africa, Usman Pam, who's part of the Global Eco Village Network, and he described how in his village in Senegal, I think, they plant a tree every time someone dies. And they've been living in this village, you know, 1,000 years. There've been people living. They live in a forest of their ancestors. And when I heard that, I thought, oh, you know, that captured in an image something I'd also heard people describe about this sense of what we've lost, that we don't even know what we've lost. We have this incoherent, missing this hole in our souls. But unless I can't imagine what it's like to walk in a forest of my ancestors, to be that deeply connected to a place. So I asked myself, you know, what does it mean to take in this wisdom if I can't really experience it in my body in that way? I can intellectually know some of these ideas, and I can have a sense intellectually of what I've what I'm missing, or it explains some of my own sense of pain or being lost in some ways. But I also question, you know, how much beyond that is even possible. And then I say, you know, maybe that's, you only get one life. Those are, and some of us manage to live that life in a deeper and more profound way, perhaps, than others are open to that. And maybe we can learn that from people who have more of an unbroken lineage of knowing how to be in the world that way.
Right.
The other thing that comes up is this idea of indigenous leadership, and I could talk about that too, but maybe I'll let that go. I like the eagle and the condor story that says there's a coming together of Western intelligence and skills and capacities and ways of knowing, and
because it really brings up the topic of like, how well do you know where you came from, and how much do you understand your own heritage? And that's something I can definitely relate to, because for me, like, I'm Greek and Armenian, but what's interesting about that is that I don't know who my ancestors are, because most of them were killed in the Armenian genocide. I don't know, or let's say my family does not know anyone beyond our great grandparents. And, you know, it brings up this profound sense of like, where did I come from? And all these unspoken stories of people that are somewhere in my lineage that I don't know and that no one knows. So, you know, what do you do in that situation where you have an understanding of what those people have gone through, but you have never heard their stories? You don't even know their names, where they've come from. So it really brings up that thing of like the ambiguity of culture and race and ethnicity and history. Something I've definitely thought about myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that this, I disconnected for a second, but I feel like the question of, is there such a thing that is non-indigenous? We're obviously all indigenous to this earth, but I guess the main difference is this: how much of this we remember or can trace back and connect with on the conscious level. And what Ben just said is, you know, what my question is, what is it that, you know, when we hear that, when we see this video, when we hear that word, what is it that moves inside us? Because in a way, the fact that it moves us tells us that we do know, and that we care deeply more than we consciously recognize. And that somehow it mirrors our unrootedness, you know, and our longing for that, for reconnecting. So in a way, it's for me, a very hopeful sign that we are moved by it, and that we are confused by it somehow. But it kind of tells us that we know actually who we are, and we know what we really want. We just not necessarily don't know how, but we don't need to know how. We just need to know that that's something we, you know, because we managed to do some fantastic stuff as humanity. When we decided to go to the moon, we went to the moon. So imagine if we just decide that we want to connect to our roots.
You know, in a dialogue recently with Chief Phil Lane and some other people, who's helped a lot of the nations of North America come together over the years. Toward the end of our dialogue, you know, he was talking about the eagle and the condor. He was talking about the peoples of the world, the prophecy, the prophecy had many years ago that people of all different skin colors from all the directions would see each other and recognize each other. This is before there was internet, right? But it makes it so much possible. Here we are from across the world, seeing each other and recognizing each other. And he said at the end, you know, people were thanking him for his wisdom, and he said, "Hey, nothing I said you don't know or already know. You wouldn't get it unless it was in you." He reminded us, you know, that we are that much together in this. You know, we all have star ancestors. It goes back and up and all over, so high and deep, and it's all right here in each cell as well. So, you know, there's a possibility for a cell to reach in and out together. Rainbow warriors from everywhere.
Thank you. Jenny, how are we doing with the visual?
We're good. I just wish that you would have said rainbow warriors earlier, because that's so powerful. But yeah, we're good. I can do a screen share if we're ready to just do a little bit of taking a look at this image. So Uri, can you remind us, we're gonna first do the...
So yeah, we will just look together on the image and maybe take a few seconds, a few moments just to connect and see silently. And then as things come up, we can just say, I see that, I feel that. And so this is like individual seeing. And then after about a minute, 2 minutes of that, we will pause again in resonance. And this time we will do collective seeing, which is mostly what is this collective seeing? What does it wants to tell us? And in that stage, we will also use body and sculpture, and can also create a sculpture. And then if the words come out as well, but then starting from the body and then the words. So
Okay.
image, individual seeing, pause, and then collective seeing and sculpture.
Okay. All right.
I see a sort of fruit opening up, sort of, I don't know the name of this fruit, but it's sort of like a cherry that it sits inside a sort of flowery thing.
I feel firelight, subtle fire of transformation.
I feel the need to act through personal transformation that then in turn forms communities of awareness.
And I now see this fruit becoming many little fruits, so kind of multiplying fruits. And they sit on some kind of, yeah, they are both suspended and connected with this image that has several meanings.
This mother is in us each. Living.
I feel that the heart of knowing lives within.
So we take a few more minutes to feel the resonance. And we can then move into collective seeing. So what is this it wants to tell us? And here we can also start with exploring it through the body, through sculpture, and from that, the word. There is a support. There is support.
This heart of knowing is she who always has our back. Divine back support.
Our capacities for leadership must be grounded in the power of the human body.
So we take a few more minutes to sort of journal for ourselves. And the question for the journaling is, what kind of action or step commitment I want to commit myself on taking in the next days or weeks from what I've seen and felt. So first, So we can, so it could be like me that whatever came as something very general and then it became more specific. And we will try to be as specific as we can, although, it's not always possible. But we can share that also in the chat. So we can,
Sorry, just to clarify, are you asking us to put it in the chat right now?
yeah, if you can, just the essence of it, or
okay. So the core aspect of our action that we came up with, we're writing those in the chat.
Yeah. Ideally, ideally, we're giving a time frame for that. I realize that I have not done that yet myself. But what I'm trying to do now, let's see if it works. But here. Do you see that?
Yep.
I'm trying to create a sort of poster movements.
Can we all do this? No.
I will just move it to. I'll move it to. I don't know if you can.
I thought it was a shared whiteboard, but I don't see any controls.
Yeah, I just realized as we were beginning the call that there is a possibility like that in Zoom. But I will do it for you. So. So give me a second and then a little puzzle.
Or by the way, there should be a comma after listen, so you can add that in there if you want.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, perfect.
By the way, you're the technology person, right? It would be amazing. As I was thinking about doing that, I thought like, wow, if there was a way that we could create this sort of commitment plans automatically. So, but
That'd be great.
yeah, but I'll just finish it up.
Well, could just, if you want to put your emails in the chat, that'd be great.
Sure.
Just while he's doing that, thank you.
Yeah, I'll drop my email in there.
To order. Can you see that? Is that working? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Easy.
Art of hosing. Sounds interesting.
Do you want to add a T here?
Sure. Yeah.
So
The art of housing. This sounds interesting.
So I saved it, and now I should have that. And then I could share it with you. I'll upload it. Will I upload it? Okay. And then I will add it to the harvest
Sure.
of Nawat and share it with you. And so I guess the last part of our flow was connected actually to look at our commitments. We didn't put a time. Actually, sometimes when we do dragon dreaming, it's good to put like until when we'll do it. But maybe we can give a general time frame in which we either do what we said here or start to do it. Is a month, within a month, start doing what we wrote here.
Sure, yeah.
From tomorrow or in between tomorrow and a month's time, we would be connecting and thanking our ancestors through regular circles. We will be listening with our bones for the movement calling us forward. We will be offering out, inviting others into community and circles via the greatest DC art of hosting community. We would be reading Wendell Berry, connecting with the Nolomabeka project. We will consider how to bring more healing and indigenous wisdom to the next edition of Nawat. We will become more educated on indigenous experiences and issues, read, listen, research, historical context, culture, suppression, greed, money, power, and structural violence. And I realized that I need to separate.
You can just say Ben K if you want.
What? Yeah.
You can just say Ben K.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah, easy.
I just realized that we have two bands and it's confusing. Ben R. So that's our plan. Are we good with it? Are we?
Sure.
Our collective plan.
Great. Are you gonna post this or should I screenshot it?
I saved it and I will post it. Where should I post it? I post it on the Nawat Facebook group and share it with you by email by Jenny. Jenny will share with us the harvest, the visual harvest, and have this.
Got it.
And I guess that's it. Do we want to looking at it? What do we see? And then we'll do sort of like a checkout through that. So look at our plan, listening about our experience so far. What do we want to share?
Sure. And something that I also mentioned is that as I read and find information, if there's a place where I can easily post that and let everyone know, then that would be good. Well, what would you recommend in terms of where to post, let's say, links, books, videos?
Well, one place is the resource list for Nawat.
Oh, okay. All right.
Can you put the link then?
I can do that, yep. So this is actually got 4 different ways you can share, and you can see what other people have posted too. That's the harvest page for Nawat. So you can share short written reflections. You can share resources, links to resources, and a comment about them. We can put this video up there on the video list. And if there's music that's opening your heart and calling to you, suggest that too to add to our playlist. As Michelle has done so beautifully recently, been really grooving on the new songs she added.
So let's kind of do a round. We can also do a sort of gesture of what we take and what we throw away, that we see. So 3 gestures. So one gesture is what we take with us, and then what we throw away, and then the third one is what we see.
What we see?
Seed, an intention, seed.
Seed, okay.
What we take from this, what we throw away, and what we see.
Are we doing this simultaneously?
Oh, maybe we do it one by one. Do it one by one. And we can do it as a gesture, but we can also say it in words as well.
Right, so you said take something and then seed? Or what was the second one?
The second one is throw away, something.
Oh, okay, got it. Take, throw away, seed.
Are we talking about the process?
Or everything.
Everything. Everything. All right. Okay.
Do we speak also or just move?
Yeah, you can also speak. You can show us and tell us. Yeah.
Remembering. And embracing all right here in my bones from ancestors, the gifts and the challenges we've inherited. I embrace and transform what needs to be and bring forward what's here for us.
I can go if you want. Sure. Collecting. Connecting. Refining. Articulating. Sharing.
I'm taking the beautiful sadness and grief of our disconnection, and I'm throwing away our disconnection as something we cannot transform. And I'm seeding the hope and the deep belief that we will make it through this moment.
Taking the invitation to open my heart to greater healing and a deeper knowing of my connectedness to everything else. I'm throwing away the need to have it all figured out and my attachment to my ideas and my plans, my thoughts. And I'm seeding connection and possibility.
I am taking life, feeling life even amidst momentary sickness, and holding both at the same time. And just noticing the irony and the gift of that, to be able to actually feel those things physically in the body that are part of wholeness but feel very different at the same time. And I'm throwing away again cynicism around the cynicism and fear around the story that I make up, that that I'm not grounded enough to that I'm not grounded enough in lots of things. And I'm throwing this story away and taking it out of my body. And I'm seating more space, always. More space.
Thank you. So I'm stopping the recording, saying thank you for whoever will see it in the future, and inviting them to see our actions and our wishes, and see himself, herself included, and welcomed.